Hello everyone. When I first started to play the French defense, the variation that I was less comfortable with was the Tarrasch variation. It was leading to games that I couldn't really understand so well. For this reason, I started to study some lines with black and I found a lot of interesting ideas. If you want to know them, check this video. So the theory on the Tarrasch is really huge and I can't cover all that in just one video. So I will do several videos. I will put the link on description. Check them. In this video, we will going to cover one particular setup, the one with bishop d3 and knight e2. Let's see. 6, d4, d5, knight d2, knight f6, e5, knight d7, bishop d3, c5, c3, knight c6, and knight e2. And we start from here. Knight e2 is made to prevent f6. In fact, in a lot of lines, we want to push f6 to give space to our pieces. Another possible move is also knight f3, but I will show it later. So here we can't push f6 because there is a knight f4 threatening the pawn on e6. What we can do is first to trade in the center, and after take we push f6. And now there are only two replies for white that are take or knight f4. First we will check knight f4. On knight f4, there is a forced sequence that is take, check, king e7, check, take. He has to take first in the f pawn, and then take, take. If he doesn't take and he takes the queen, the rook, we can take with the knight, and here we are super better. Huge center. His queen is not active. We are going to win this game and we are threatening the bishop. So on this one, take and then king f7. And let's see the position. Even if we sacrifice the quality, white's position is not easy at all to play. In a lot of middle games, black will win due to the white's queen that is not active. So let's see some errors. Let's say that maybe white wants to reactivate the queen and wants to play queen h4. Played a lot of time also in the master phase. So 4 is already an inaccuracy. Our focus must be to push and maybe trap the white queen if we are able to do it. So e5, and here there are some replies like knight f3, knight b3, and castle. Uh, Natural reply, I mean. Let's check them. If he castle is already a blunder because we can play bishop e7, threatening knight h5 that will trap the queen. So if he plays queen g3, we push and we win a piece because he can't move the bishop from the defense of the e2 square for a fork. So this is a blunder and we win. Second reply. On knight f3, there is a check first, and he can't cover because we take on f3, and after take back, take, and he can take back because there is a knight e4 check, and we win the queen. So, third reply. On knight b3, same. We give a check, and he can't cover. If he covers, we take first the knight, and if he takes, same reason. If he take the bishop, first we take the rook, and after castle we push. And if he moves his bishop, we can save our knight, or otherwise he can move it on b1. But after bishop e6, we will be able to save our knight. So what should white do? White should play knight f3, but after the check, he has to move the bishop, the king on f1. So then we will push. He takes our knight, we take the bishop, and the situation is not easy for white. Maybe it seems a bit scary for black side, but after, let's say, bishop g5, we can play bishop queen b4, putting pressure on the knight, and if he trades for us, is super fine. We trade, he has to trade, otherwise he lose a piece. We trade, and if he tries to re-win the pawn, we can play b6 with a pin for the rook. So let's see other replies. Okay, so let's say that in this position, white castle. As I said before, our focus must be to push in the center. So after castle, we can push e5, and for example, knight f3, and we can trade and push again. And after take, we have an important move that is knight h5 to block the queen from being activate. And here, if white takes, we can develop our queen on f6, and we are threatening a lot of mates. In this position, becomes already really difficult for white to play. But besides that, even if let's say white is not greedy and develops a piece, we can play queen h4. I mean, as you can see, also with normal moves, the position for white becomes really difficult. Here, white should move. The only move is to move the bishop on e2. But anyway, after knight h5, if he takes, we can play queen h4, and even if he takes, we can play g pair, and we are threatening a lot of mates. And here we are already winning. So let's say that instead of knight f3, he plays knight b3. With knight b3 is a bit different because we can't threaten mate anymore, because the pawn structure around the king is healthy. But we can trade the knight and push in the center. And now white should move his bishop on e2, because he has to let himself the possibility to play bishop c4, just in case we push even further our pawns. So after bishop b2, we can just play bishop e6, develop, and then when we are ready, push in the center, d4, d3, and threaten a lot of stuff. The position, anyway, I think even here that the engine says plus 0.2, I think that practically speaking is a lot easier for black to play. And this is what we should care about. If a position is easy or hard to play, practically speaking. Okay, so now we can check the other variation, e per f6. Okay, so on e per f6, the plans are a bit different. We take with the knight, there is knight f3, bishop d6, castle, and here an important move is queen c7. Okay, we in this variation, we have to stay focused on two things: to not lose our dark square bishop, and to try to push for e5. With the push on e5, in fact, we will be able to activate our light square bishop, and if we can do that, it will be a nightmare to play. So. Queen c7, it's made for this purpose. In fact, it is preventing f4. And after here, there are a lot of moves that white can play. But what we can do is, instead of learning by heart, what we can do is try to understand the concept. So the points of pressure, it depends on the variation that white choose, are well, first, we don't want to lose the bishop. Second, we have to look for e5, for h2 and f2. And then and then nothing else. So, for example, let's say white plays bishop knight c3. We want to play on a6 to not let b5 happen, and after that, maybe rook e1. We just castle, and here an important move. If white blunders by playing g5, we already can see the points of pressure. We can play knight g4, putting pressure on h2 and also on f2. And if he tries to do something silly like h3 to kick away the knight, we can already enter. He can't take because otherwise we will mated him like this. And if he doesn't do that, if he moves on h1, there is a fork. If he moves on f1, we can sacrifice the knight because if he takes, we give a check with the queen on g3, and we will bring the king in the middle of the board. So let's say if he doesn't do bishop g5, let's check other ideas. Okay, if he doesn't do bishop g5, he can play, for example, bishop e3, and we can develop slowly the bishop on d7 and try to build our push on e5. So another idea that white can play is not a knight c3, but a knight g3. So let's check it. On knight g3, we can, for example, castle, and let's say that he plays rook e1. We can already go for the e5 push. There's no reason to not go for that. We can activate our bishop. We can release a bit of pressure. We will have a pawn that is isolated but also passed. And what we want to do is putting pressure on the h2 pawn. So if, well, trade, take with the knight, take. And if he tries to go for queen b3, we can play king h8, but also bishop e6. Personally, I like to play king h8, even if bishop e6 is a bit more precise. So what if he doesn't play knight g3? Let's check other ideas. Another idea that he can play in this position, always looking for a dark square bishop trade, is g3. So g3. So if he plays a g3, we can castle, and on bishop here is the maybe the only variation that we have to learn a bit by heart. But we can play. We can play knight e4, and if he takes, we can take back, and well, he can never take our knight, not now at least, because if he takes, the d4 pawn falls, and if he tries to regain the pawn like this, we will give a check on f3, bring the king on the diagonal, then maybe place our queen on c6, and good things will happen. So g3 is the only maybe critical line for black. What he could do also is bishop g5. Let's check it. On bishop g5, what we can do is just castle, and maybe on rook c1 to prevent the e5 push, so the knight can't retake. We can just develop our bishop and see the game how will go. But we have always idea of maybe h6 or maybe queen b6 to go away from the pin. And generally, what we can do here is maybe play rook e8, try to go for e5. But in general, the ideas are always the same. So this was the video. I covered only this type of setup, but I think that for one video is enough. A lot of ideas. Personally, I like more the first line that I show you. I think is more funny for both sides to play, for sure for black. So, and for the second line, don't try to learn by heart. Try to understand the points of pressure. For example, if the rook moves on e1, is not defending anymore the pawn on f2. If the knight goes on g3 instead on that on c3, we can push e5 better because the d5 pawn is not hanging anymore. So this type of difference. But yeah, this was the video. Let me know what you think in the comment. If you like this type of content, I will do more, and for sure I will cover also the other lines of the Tarrasch. If you like it, leave a like. If you don't leave a like. See you in the next video.